So yeah, just asking a few questions about Hunt Club. First of all, I loved the movie. Um, but as much as I loved it, it also made me really mad at times. So, my first question is, as a woman yourself, what drew you to direct this film? And then how did it feel to actually make it?
So the first thing is it's good that it made you feel something, because obviously as a filmmaker, a storyteller, we always want to emote feelings in people, no matter what they are. Otherwise, what's the point? I think from a story perspective, mother-daughter, if that's the underlying theme, where a mother is out there doing whatever is necessary to protect, to find, to look after her daughter, that sits with me because I am a mother. So, and also the age is similar. I have a 20-year-old, and Mina played the age of me with that equivalent, and I think that definitely resonated. You're right. There are moments where you literally just want to do this, but again, that's the point, because if you didn't hate them, then killing them wouldn't be the right punishment. So we have to hate them. We have to feel anger. From a perspective of the way it was told, unfortunately, this is pretty truthful to certain scenarios that do exist. So even though we might think we have movified it, there are actually a lot of situations where this occurs. So yes, filming it definitely made me mad, but then the retribution was awesome.
That's good. That's good. Yes, it was a very satisfying ending for sure. Um, the script was written by men, so I was just wondering, as a woman director coming in to direct this male written script, was there anything that you tweaked or added to kind of bring both voices in?
Definitely, because that is a problem when men are supposedly writing it from one perspective and they're writing it from their perspective. So there were definitely tweaks that occurred, but also within the editing. The editing was a huge process where we actually removed a lot of male dialogue.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Do you remember any of the things that you removed?
Well, it was just more about removing it from being their story. It's not about their story. They're just part of it. So, for example, the fire pit scene, that had every one of those guys telling their story. And we were like, no, we don't need to know that. We get it, men. It's about the journey of the women. And actually, that needs to be brought in. And that needs to be more apparent from the beginning.
Gotcha, gotcha. Um, you got to work with a pretty amazing cast, not gonna lie. It was it's a stellar cast. What was it like working with them, especially with these topics?
Again, I think Mina being a parent now, she has that understanding of what that could feel like. And actually, Maya's become a parent since then. So again, both of those women, I feel, really resonated with that story, or wanting to be mothers at the time. And then the guys, I mean, Casper's just amazing. He's just such a lovely guy, and it was hard for him to play these roles. He's a nice person. He's got daughters. Jessica, again, making sure that any of her intimacy scenes, which I worked very closely with her, and made sure that at no stage was she uncomfortable. And we removed the concept of needing to show anything. We did not need to show anything. We all have our imaginations. We all know what was going to have gone on and what that looked like. And the London brothers definitely pulled that off. And then obviously, being a baddie, Mickey Rourke's pretty awesome in it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Um, yeah, my next question was actually, how did you decide what to show and what not to show in terms of the violence and the death? So you kind of answered that, but building off of it, was that a decision that you made from the beginning?
Well, the sexual side, definitely. That was a decision from the very beginning, because that was me chatting to the actresses and saying, what is it that we need to show? What do we feel comfortable with? We get this. From a perspective of those moments where, you know, she's gorged in her stomach, that girl that's escaping, or the foot gets caught, you know, it's a horror film. So we needed those 3 or 4 moments. And when all the guys get the axe thrown at them and murdered, you know, it's kind of that needed to be there in order to give us that horror element. But from a sexual element, there was definitely no need for anything else. You know, it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, I have a few questions about the mother-daughter entertainment. You co-founded this with your daughter. Can you tell me a little bit about what it is and how you two decided to work together?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, she's my best friend, so that is kind of pretty simple to work that out. And she was the one in the industry before me. I was a theatre director, and at about 14 years old, so 6 years ago, was when I first directed my first film. And therefore, when we were continuously, I was directing, she was writing or acting in it, I realized I wanted an umbrella term over that. And as a mother-daughter duo, it just seemed to make sense, MDE. You know, it kind of naturally formed itself. And we try to choose projects that at least stimulate conversation, maybe even if it's just something as much as having some fun with some kids. I mean, you know, that her friends are all great actors, so I just brought them together on our last film that she wrote, produced, and starred in with Latigo, actually, and that's called Calm as a Bitch, and that was great fun. So we really collaborate strongly. And then we've got a couple of projects that we're working on as well. Actually, one's a feature documentary and a couple of rom-coms. So, you know, we change what we do. This isn't about sticking to, hold on, let me get rid of somebody who's called. Hold on, sent a voicemail. I knew that was going to happen. You know, it's where we suddenly get the calling for a project that's going to be fun, or a project that is going to mean something, or we get to work with some cool actors. And we just love being creative together. There is nothing like it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That all being said, how does Hunt Club factor into all of this, especially your motto, making content that matters?
Well, because the child trafficking, I'm an ambassador for awareness for trafficking for a company called Aware Now. And therefore, my first feature actually was about a child trafficking incident in New Mexico called Trust, Pray, Hope. That's actually never been seen. The second one I did was called Unseen, which is a short that I directed and produced and wrote, and that's a 20-minute short for educational purposes, available to everybody. And this was along the similar lines, but in a different way. And again, if I can make something that stimulates this conversation, that suddenly by telling you about Aware Now, by telling you about these trafficking charities, then I am stimulating conversation with a new audience, because not this audience are not going to watch a trafficking movie. You know, they don't associate that. But actually, even if at the end of it they go, oh, what's Elizabeth done? Who is this? What's this about? It started a conversation. If there wasn't any of that in it, no element of that, and it's just a horror for no reason, then I wouldn't have taken it on.
That's fair. That's fair. So with Hunt Club being telling this in a different way, what exactly do you hope people take away, or like what exactly is that conversation that you want to start?
Well, the biggest thing would be the lure of what happened to the young girl. So the daughter was lured away by the concept of money, starvingstudents.com, which isn't, again, abnormal. There are all of these different sites out there. And my Unseen film was about the same kind of concept, the social media aspect. And I think as long as people can feel a connection with, hold on a minute, I thought we were going somewhere lovely. I thought this was going to be beautiful and fun. And each of those girls tell their mini versions of their stories when we arrive in the barn. You know, I was a student, I was part of Black Lives Matter. These guys misled us. That is the biggest takeaway for me.
I really like that, because a story like this has a tendency to be very like anti-man, you know, the man hater, and things like that. Did you struggle at all with having to balance the content of the film with your actual mission behind it?
100%. It's not an easy subject. It's a difficult subject matter. So not an easy subject to turn into something almost trivial, if you like, a horror. You know, what does that look like? And so again, due to the editing, due to removing dialogue, due to removing certain sections that actually we filmed in the barn, with the bad guys, we try to dilute that, still keeping those kind of moments, you know, especially when one of the London brothers has his appendage removed. You know, I still needed to keep those elements there, but the subject matter of, yes, this is not about hating men. I mean, in a way, you know, the leader of the hunt, and I don't know if I think it's okay to say this because we are doing more. Imagine the actual leader of the hunt is female, the entire world organization. So this is not just about men. You know, I just finished watching that documentary on the Jeffrey Epstein, and you know, the people that were involved in that supposedly were not all men. And so that is very important for me. And I think Hunt Club 2, 3 or 4 definitely would push more to that, you know, again, once we've got this audience. And I think what's interesting about the subject matter is the lure of these girls is different every time. They change it. You know, even one of my favorite movies in the olden days is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang with the child catcher. You know, that's trafficking. Lollipops, children, you know, it's a classic way of doing it. Here's a puppy, come and look in my van. This is just that step further to get awareness within a different audience.
Thank you for that. Is there talk about doing more than one Hunt Club?
There is, but it would be in a very different way now. It's almost like we don't need to go into that extreme of horror. You know, it's much more conversational, based on where this could be, because people would deal with this in a different way. So maybe if this is set in Turkey or Greece or Eastern Europe, there'd be a very different feel to it. Maybe it's more action thriller. So yes, you know, we're looking into that.
Nice, nice. In addition to that, you mentioned Karma's a Bitch and the documentary and some rom-coms. What's coming out next for you?
Well, I've got 2 things coming out. So I filmed Karma's a Bitch last year. That'll be out this year. And I also, and again, this is the way I work. I have a Pureflix TV show that I directed coming out. So totally opposite. You know, the most scariest moment in that was who was the quilt sewer, you know, at night. Is this most wonderful story, because I love doing that as well. And then as far as filming, I've actually been given a film that's quite fun to direct called Snakebit, which is based on, it's a bit more action actually, that my daughter will play the lead in, set in Texas. And then it depends which one goes first, actually. Latigo are looking at a rom-com. Maybe we film in Kentucky. But it's kind of open at the moment. I'm really enjoying this like downtime from having been so busy. I mean, last year I filmed and worked on 6 features. So actually just to be able to finish and breathe and enjoy them coming out is just as important.
I agree. I agree. So if we want to stay up to date with you, your work, your advocacy, where can we follow you?
So one of the best places at the moment is Medicine with Words. And this is a mind coach, mind healing setup. It's mindful tools that I've created, a whole methodology. And that enables everybody to find a little bit of clarity and peace and live with intention, which is what I very much strive to do each day. So that would be that side of things. As far as my projects, that would be Mother Daughter Ent. That's on Instagram. And then my personal is Elizabeth_B_T. So it's medicinewithwords.com, or the Instagram name, all the same, TikTok even. And then my Elizabeth_B_T, and then Mother Daughter Ent.
Awesome. Great. That's kind of all the questions that I have for you. Again, I love the movie, and is there anything else that you want to make sure that you add before I let you go?
I think what I'd like to add is this concept of, we make all these films as storytellers. We all try to put something out there, and I try to encourage and mentor as much as I can. And I think it's important for everybody to realize that we create our own Hollywoods. We do our own thing. And there's no right or wrong way of doing anything. We all think we're striving for something. It's just about enjoying life, making the most of it. Don't take yourself too seriously. And when you watch something like this, it's also fun to watch my other films, because then you see how I've grown as a filmmaker and budget changes. And I just think the whole concept of that is very interesting. But also, if people don't want that horror aspect, they can watch Unseen, which again is along the trafficking way. And I think it's important to just ask everybody to be more aware. Be aware of everything around you, be aware of people, and let's put some kindness into this world.
For sure. I couldn't agree more with that.
Mm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting. Again, I love the movie. I'm going to be on the lookout for your next stuff. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much. You too. Bye.
Bye.